Hello, Chris Exley, and I guess that's John Emmett, Training to Win, who's in Weymouth. Chris Exley in the North Shore of Massachusetts, meeting up near Marblehead. Welcome to all of you who are joining us for this third show on YouTube. And we'll get this turkey on the road in just about 10 seconds. Thanks for joining us.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Show number 349 for the Friday, the 13th of November, 2020. Welcome, everybody. Julia, I trust you are well.
I am.
Are you superstitious?
Not about Friday the 13th.
About other things?
Sometimes.
Well, you do read the horoscopes, though, right?
I do.
Well, as you know, I'm not very superstitious, but hopefully all our technical is working today. And here we are live again from Studio B for this closing in on show number 350. I'm your host, Tom Ehman. Julie, of course, is my co-host, landlady here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to all of you indeed. It's an interesting show. We had a lot of good America's Cup video. And, of course, we'll give you an update on the Vendée Globe right out of the blocks. But first, Friday the 13th, I did a little research, Julie, into Friday the 13th.
It's interesting history.
It is, but look at this. I thought it had to do with the Last Supper and all that sort of thing, right? It's not.
Mm-mm.
Well, I'm sure that had something to do, depending upon your culture. But according to folklore historian Donald Dossie, the unlucky nature of the number 13 originated with a Norse myth. And as a Norwegian, I'm proud of this. A Norse myth about 12 gods having a dinner party in Valhalla. The trickster god Loki, who was not invited, arrived as the 13th guest and arranged for Hor, I guess it is, Hor, I'm sorry for my pronunciation, to shoot Balder with a mistletoe-tipped arrow.
Aha.
Dossie, Balder died, and the whole earth got dark. The whole earth mourned. It was a bad, unlucky day. This major event in Norse mythology caused the number 13 to be considered unlucky. And, of course, we all hear, as I said, about the Last Supper and about what other things make 13 unlucky if you're in this culture. And, of course, in the Italian culture, it's Friday the 17th that's unlucky. And in Greece and in the Hispanic community, it's Tuesday the 13th that is considered to be unlucky. Did you know that?
That I didn't know.
Well, wait, there's more.
Ooh.
Can you pronounce this word?
Tristidicophobia. Tristidicophobia.
You know what this is?
Yeah, fear of 13.
Fear of the 13th. And it is actually pronounced triskaidekaphobia. You were pretty close. Triskaidekaphobia. I had to go even and listen to that on one of those pronunciation channels today.
Good for you.
Triskaidekaphobia, fear, unwarranted fear, or just, I guess, plain fear of the 13th. Now, how about this? As you all know, there are buildings. In fact, 80% of the buildings apparently in the West do not have a 13th floor. Airplanes don't have a 13th row. And this, do you know where this is?
Somebody's stable.
Yeah, well done. It's Santa Anita Park. There's no stall number 13, but there is a 12A. Wouldn't you think that stall 12A is just as unlucky as stall 13 or not?
Oh, no, it's a delay.
Oh, it is. Okay. No stall 13, but 12A is apparently okay. Now, here's another interesting factoid about the 13th. The rate of accidents. A study by the British Medical Journal published in 1993 attracted some attention from popular science literature as it concluded, quote, the risk of hospital admission as a result of transport accident may be increased by as much as 52% on the 13th.
No kidding.
However, the authors clearly state that, quote, the numbers of admissions from accidents are too small to allow meaningful analysis. Subsequent studies have disproved any correlation between Friday the 13th and the rate of accidents. But wait, there's more. On the contrary, the Dutch Center for Insurance Statistics in 2008 stated that actually fewer accidents and reports of fire and theft occur when the 13th of the month falls on a Friday than on other Fridays because people are preventively, there's a good word, more careful or just stay home. Statistically speaking, driving is slightly safer on the 13th of the month, when the 13th of the month falls on a Friday, than on other Fridays because people, I just read that, at least in the Netherlands, this was a Dutch study, in the last 2 years, Dutch insurers receive reports of an average 7,800 traffic accidents each Friday, but the average figure when the 13th fell on a Friday was just 7,500. So 300, I don't know if that's statistically significant, Julia, or not, but it's something.
It is.
It is something. Now, wait, there's more. Did you know that the British Navy, because sailors, were so superstitious, that the British Royal Navy, according to legend, tried to dispel the sailors' myth, and they actually built a ship named Her Majesty's ship, HMS Friday. Building for the vessel is said to have begun on a Friday. The crew was selected on a Friday, and it was even under the command of Captain James Friday.
And it sank on the 13th.
Well, this was all to, say, look, we're going to run this thing out there. There's not going to be a problem. You all have a look. Well, there's more, as I said. All was well until the HMS Friday set sail on her maiden voyage on Friday the 13th, only to never be seen or heard from again,
Yes.
Legend says. Mm-hmm. It is a tale as old as time and continues to be told by those wanting to overcome the superstitions connected to Friday the 13th. However, it's all BS. None of it's true.
Oh, good.
In a bid to squash the Friday rumors themselves, the Royal Navy debunked it, denying HMS Friday ever existed. So if you're celebrating Friday the 13th, if you're experiencing, of course, it's the 14th down under in New Zealand, Australia, where many of our viewers are residing, enjoying their Saturday. Happy Friday the 13th. Just a reminder that we are live and will continue to go live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 1300, 1 p.m. Pacific. We're now off daylight time, of course. It's 10 a.m. Saturday in New Zealand, 8 a.m. in Sydney, but it's +9 as usual now, 2200 in Central Europe. Sailing Illustrated TV is our YouTube channel. You can watch it live or replay there later. We've had a couple of problems, growing pains trying to get this sorted, but hopefully now we have done so. And sorry for the comments that did not make it through to the final recording of last Tuesday's show, but we're working on that. The comments should be there for today. And Julia, speaking of comments, you get to say.
Yes. Take this opportunity to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell when you want to be identified.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But the bell, of course, gives you notifications. You'll get emails, you get texts, I'm not sure what all. But the subscribe helps us a lot. The more subscribers we have, the more bennies we can get from YouTube. And I'm not talking necessarily about money. We're not close to monetizing this yet. but it will help us going forward if we get up to and over 1,000 subscribers. For example, we've got thousands over on the Facebook page, and we're still struggling with Facebook. We'll tell you more about that. You can comment here live. I'm not quite so sure about comments and replay. We're trying to get that sorted out as well. And I think you can go down and click. Try it if you would, please. Click in the lower right corner, and you can get live captions, I believe now. I believe on the live screen. We've enabled them, and hopefully that is working as well. One other program note, if you're so inclined, please support us on Patreon. Become a patron. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. We appreciate your support. $1 or $5 or $10 a month. Some people give us more than that. And we, as I said, deeply appreciative. Welcome to show 349. Julie, do you want to talk about who's here?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, let me just make a few mentions here. I got it up on the screen here. It's a little different than the Facebook. It's a little harder. It's smaller type, as you notice. But Gordon Smith's on from Denmark. Wingrove is on. The Sunfish Midwinter is happening now, being Facebook Live on occasion after mark roundings. He is going. I think he meant going Facebook Live after mark roundings down in Tampa, Florida, Davis Island Yacht Club. Chasser, morning, Tom and Julia from sunny Brisbane. Beautiful town of Brisbane. Australia, Jody Shields, good day. What's it say? YouTubians. It was spelled with a U. YouTubians. Hi, Jody. And Sydney, Vendée on Vendredi, the 13th. That Pindar saying, now that was one hell of a boat. Clark Chapin, greetings from Chile, Michigan. 349 is a prime number. Well, that's good. That's significant. I guess we're going to have champagne next Tuesday, are we, Julia?
At least.
You think?
Well, it's cooling.
You already got a bottle?
2 bottles.
Oh, you do? Well,
just in case somebody shows up.
One bottle is enough. I'll be curtailing. I have a bottle in the fridge, too, just in case. What day of the week did the Norse god party fall on? Chapin's asking. There are a lot of Christian Christmas traditions that are from Scandinavian pagan, for example, the Yule log. Yes, indeed. It's bad luck to be superstitious. Who's the Yacht Club of Evil? There's a new name. Yacht Club of Evil. Thank you for that comment. Josh Tozo, happy Friday the 13th. Triskaidekaphobia, I believe the name, yes, of Etchel's 1313, I think based in San Diego. Good recollection, Josh, that's right, from memory. Some buildings don't have a level 13, go straight out, 12 to 14. A lot of folks, Danish police have sent a friendly FB message, Facebook message out this evening suggesting that we all take it easy this evening because it is the 13th. So many Dogzilla, Monster, that's Stingray up in Seattle. I bought my first boat on a Friday the 13th. Triskaidekaphobia has been my religion ever since. Okay. Oh, gosh. You know what? I see what was reflecting in my glasses. I fixed that now.
Oh, good.
That was bugging me. I'm sure it was bugging all of you. Comings and goings, Gordon, everybody. James Frederick Bland. Computer was Crutonic. I'm here now. Well, so far our tech seems to be working, except I had that glare in my glasses, which I have now fixed because the light, my so-called hair light, Julie's got a hair light too. We each have, 3-point lighting to pop you off the background.
Yes.
And that was reflecting off one of my computer screens. What day of the week does Friday the 13th fall on? Did you know, Julia, that there is always at least one Friday the 13th each year in the Gregorian calendar, sometimes as many as 3. I did not know that.
I didn't know that
either.
Okay. I'm better on February than the 29th. The weird things about February 29th.
You have a lot of friends with birthdays on the 29th.
My mother had a birthday, which is how I got started now.
Your mother's birthday was on the 29th?
Mm-hmm.
It was on leap year day.
Yeah.
Well, but you still count the years, right? You don't skip only count one quarter.
Only when you're 7 and you've had more birthdays than your mother.
Well, okay. Okay. Happy 13th. Hopefully everyone stays safe. Sorry, and while we're on the 13th, before we get here into the Vendée, but we have been relocked here in not completely locked down, but in San Francisco, as things start to spike here in California and elsewhere, I know that you all are in Europe are taking it on the chin, so to speak. The restaurants, including the yacht club, have now had to go back, Julia, to outdoor dining only and takeaway.
Yes.
Grab and go, as some clubs call it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sad. That's disturbing. And it looks like it's spiking across North America.
Yes.
And particularly in, I guess, New York and a couple other states. Well, here in California and Texas.
Brings up a big problem for the holidays.
Which is what?
Well, no more than 3 families under one roof. No more than 6 people at any time. If you go out of state, quarantine yourself for 14 days. If you come in state, quarantine yourself for 14 days.
Is that right? In and out of states now?
Yeah.
I guess Illinois is really, the mayor in Chicago has locked things down there pretty, but it's happening all over the place. They've just come out of it in Australia, at least in Victoria and Melbourne. Our Thanksgiving holiday, which is in 2 weeks' time, which is arguably the biggest holiday of the year here, family holiday. Kids come home from college. This year, I just heard this morning, they're going to make kids test before they leave campus going home. Of course, they could get it en route. I mean,
sure.
And then did you see Elon Musk this morning saying that he took 4 tests in a day, 2 of which were positive and same nurse and the same test in the same laboratory. I mean, however it was done, two were positive and 2 were negative.
Oh.
Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Elon Musk of Tesla and other
we just
fame.
do know that tests don't do everything.
Tests do not do everything. So stay safe, everybody. We wear our masks. We've been very careful since even before.
Since March 4th.
Was it March 4th?
Yeah.
And we hope you all are being careful as.
Getting tempted not to be, but now I'm going back the other way.
Well, yeah, it's. But there's great news in the sailing world that the Vendée is off and running. That is terrific news. It started, as you know, on Sunday. This is day 5. It's now day 6 on Saturday in Europe. Not quite day 6. It's what? 13 plus. It's 22-17. So it's closing in on day 6 in Europe. They are, just for the avoidance of doubt, they're going clockwise. Is that clockwise? That's counterclockwise. They're going west to east around the globe. They pass by nonstop, unassisted, the Cape of Good Hope, then the Cape Lewin, the southwestern corner of Australia, and then past New Zealand, past around Cape Horn, and back up to Europe to the finish in France. Now, what's the latest? Well, I'm going to go to the website in the tracking in a sec, and we'll give you that. But this was a couple hours ago. The fleet pretty well packed. Off now Spain and south of Spain. Alex Thompson is leading. Probably the biggest news of the last couple days since our show on Tuesday is that Jeremy Bayou on Charal had to return. He's still not back.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's still not back. And he's not expected back until tomorrow, Saturday, or so I'm reliably informed.
To France.
To France, back to the port.
Yeah.
So that's sad because he's one of the big favorites.
Yes.
So he's expected back in Le Sable d'Olonne tomorrow, Saturday. He can repair, and that's the only place, that's the only port that they can go into, get outside assistance, and then in effect restart the race. But he's yonks behind. He's the rest of the fleet by the time he gets going, if he gets going.
It was 600 miles.
At least. And by the time he gets going, the fleet's going to be in the South Atlantic. They had this first storm we were talking about on the show on Tuesday, which is now passed to the east of the fleet. Some of them, the group that got west, including Alex Thompson, were smart, and they enjoyed this downhill ride in the breeze sooner than the boats that were further east. So the boats to the west did benefit. And here's the official word. The leaders are in a tropical depression theta. Alex Thompson and Jean Lacombe, followed by Nicholas Troussel, took the most direct route. An increasingly significant split is going between the top of the race, which are flying downwind, and the rest of the fleet. Alex Thompson leads the Vendée Globe by some only 26 nautical miles, which is nothing in this race. As of this afternoon, that is Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon meaning French time. So there again, France is 9 hours ahead of us. It's 22:20, almost midnight, closing in Europe. They were the first to deal with a storm, the worst of the storms, Theta, at some 250 miles south of the Azores. The British skipper took, that's Alex Thompson, of course, took his Hugo Boss as close to the center of the system as he considered prudent before a difficult jibe in around 40 knots of wind and 5-meter seas around 13:30 this afternoon, Friday, a move which should see him gain significantly on all but the French veteran Jean Lecomte, who took a similar track. The reward for the extra risk is sailing fewer miles than the rivals who are chasing him, being slingshot out of the low in strong north to northwesterly winds, which, all going well, should net him a significant miles on his fast foiling rivals. So some of have the big foils and some don't. Thompson does. He's got a new boat, full foiling assist. Thompson's nearest pursuer is 61-year-old Jean Lecomte, who's very popular in France, maybe the local favorite, whose ocean racing history dates back to the 1980s and who won La Solitaire du Figaro 3 times and finished second in the Vendée in 0405. He is sailing a 2007 launched boat with conventional straight dagger boards and leads all the latest generation foilers other than the radically, and I'll insert the word new, black Hugo Boss of Alex Thompson. Lecomte is more than 20 miles up on the third place Nicolas Troussel on Coram La Parnier. Is that how to pronounce that, Julie? Your French is good. Or do I have to consult Andrew Pindar?
Oh.
Where is it? La Parnier, the last word in that graphic.
Oh, La Parnier.
La Parnier. Okay, here's a video from Hugo Boss after he passed, and it's a recent video, it's from today, after he passed the roughest part of the storm. The audio, at least at the start, is not so good, but you can get a gist. It's only a minute or so long. Have a look.
Hi everybody, well, it's been a tough few days. The intensity of the racing is insane. Unbelievable, I can tell you. It's shattering, but very interesting, I can tell you. And fantastic news today that I now lead the race. In IMOCA world, and particularly the Vendée Globe, there are very few opportunities to be able to take the lead. A bit like standing on the back of the boat with normal clothes on, I guess. But last night I saw an opportunity, and while you're out there in a little group, I'm always keeping an eye, I'm sure the others do as well, keeping an eye on what's happening, who's doing what. And you can tell by what speeds people are doing, what sails they've got up. You can tell by how long they put the boat downwind to do a sail change, what sails they're changing to. So in the middle of all that last night, I saw an opportunity and I took it. I wasn't sure it was going to work out, but it looked like a good opportunity. And I'm very happy today, very happy indeed. What's coming up? Well, there's this nasty little low pressure down there to the south, which needs to be dealt with. I haven't looked at it. I haven't studied in minute detail. That's on the agenda this evening, as well as a few jobs that I need to do. But all is great on the good ship Hugo Boss. I'm definitely tired, but time to be catching up now and try and keep the fleet behind me.
Nice report.
Nice. It was a nice report, wasn't it, Julia?
Yeah.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Really fun. Really nice. Okay. Another video. This another team that we'd like to follow. This is from Boris Hermann, who is German, from Hamburg. He's sailing for the Monaco, Yacht Club de Monaco in this race, and we're cheering for him, but he's quite a ways back. Have a look at this video just to give you an idea what it was like as he was passing through the storm earlier today.
not easy to go through these waves. They are so short. It's so warm. I'm only wearing boxer shorts. Bit stressful anyway.
Okay, so he's only wearing boxer shorts. That, of course, is a YouTube video from Boris Herman, Sailing into the Weekend, he entitled that. He's a bit behind still in the rougher conditions, but warm enough to be only wearing his boxer
Good for him.
shorts. Well, they're getting down toward the equator. It's getting warm.
John Emmett said Hugo Boss is in fire and has been going at 30 knots and averaging 28 knots an hour when last I looked.
Indeed. Let's go have a look, speaking of looking at the tracker. And again, it's VendéeGlobe.org, and then you can, it's really a good website. And you can see the leaders. If you click, as one of you reminded us the other day, you click over here on the left, and it will show you where their boat is. You click. So there's Hugo Boss. It's the red and black boat leading down here. It's my cursor shows up. I'm going to zoom in just a bit here. You can see where they are relative to Spain and the Azores and so on now. And yes, we can. Jean Lecam is right next to him. Now, that's with an older boat, a traditional boat with dagger boards instead of dagger foils. Third place is linked out, Thomas Uriant, who's another IMOCA 60 veteran. You can see he is in the blue boat off to the west and stern a bit. So the three top boats are pretty tightly packed. They're all going well. Nicholas Troussel in boat 4 is which boat is he? Oh, he's behind, and a little heated up right now at the moment. There's Kevin Escoffier. Now, this is as of 1700 hours UTC. So that's a few hours ago. The next ranking will be at 2100 hours. Well, 2100 hours UTC we're past that. We haven't quite figured this out yet. Maybe some of you have. It's day 5, 8 hours, 5 plus 5 down at the bottom. You see plus 5 days plus 8 hours 7. So that's the elapsed time of the race. So we'll figure this out. We'll keep bringing you what we think are the best videos. If any of you have suggestions or have anybody that would like to come on, we've got several people who've offered, and we'll probably tee them up. Andrew Pindar has some ideas. But bring them along, and we will talk as each show, with each passing show, we'll talk about who's doing what. But so far, a couple of our favorites, Alex Thompson and Jean Lecam, and we hope that our friend who's not yet back, that he was an early favorite. He looked like the favorite. So hopefully Jeremy Bayou will be back. I don't know, probably take him a couple of days. He had rudder problems. He ran into something, or the rudder broke, or who knows what happened. But interesting stuff. And, of course, our closing slide, as always, for this segment is the Vendée Globe out there all alone with 2 million people hanging on your every jibe. I like that, don't you? Mm-hmm. Anything else on the website anybody else wants to look at or talk about? It's a terrific website.
It is. I was about to say that. The graphics, it looks good on every website, and every angle is easy to figure out.
Mm. Okay, a few other comments here. LHR, I guess that's Heathrow, London Heathrow, now doing an 80-pound test, GB, Great Britain pound sterling, for those who need to fly to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So you get a test right at the airport. The audio is Nokia quality. Yeah, that was his audio was not so great. But considering he's out there as his own producer, his own audio engineer, his own camera, I'd say what a great angle. I have a camera up there.
Yeah. Yep. And
one of the videos I saw of him when it was rougher, earlier video, the spray was up to that level on the spreaders, that spreader cam. So
wow.
Pretty good. What other comments here, Julia? Alex is a treasure to the sport. Did you read that, Chris Exley? He is indeed. Go, Alex.
They're just
Not
comments.
did you see James Bland? He says not Zoom meeting appropriate. Yeah, you don't want to be caught. Although I don't think anybody would care on this. And,
Under boxer shorts, why not?
as long as you're not wanking. I mean, that's what that guy well, don't wrinkle your nose up at me. That's what he was doing.
I know.
That's a new word. That'll be in the dictionary here.
Instantly, I'm sure.
What was the guy's name? The lawyer? Liberal lawyer. CNN wrote for the New York.
Fortunately, I've
for those
forgotten.
of you outside of the States, this was a guy named Jeffrey Toobin, who's been on a CNN legal senior commentator. He's been around for a long time. He writes for, is it New Yorker magazine?
I think so, yeah.
And
Or no, Vanity Fair.
no, well, probably that too. But they were having a Zoom meeting in preparation. This is before the election, in preparation for an election night podcast or something. And they were each playing a different role. And Jeffrey was apparently playing, Mr. Toobin was playing the role of the courts. And it must have been boring. That or somebody on the call was stimulating. I don't know, because he somehow got his Zoom camera to some camera. They cut away, and then he came back to a camera that had him full, shall we say, figured. Or maybe the camera. I guess he was on one of these sites. He was sexting with somebody. Don't make the same mistake, and we won't either. I guarantee you, I have my pants on. I don't sit here, and Julia as well does not sit there in her bloomers. Okay, enough of this. It is Friday the 13th, right?
Oh, it is.
Okay, shall we get into the Cup news? Is there any other comments, Julia, before we get into the Cup news? There's Blake Middleton from Wayzata in winter, where it's snowing and it's cold. What about the women? Gordon Smith, I think I like Tom the way he is. Charal also lost the starboard running backstay, and the starboard sheet block exploded, and the carbon shards shot out and damaged the backstay. Or so Chris Exley's telling us. Thanks, Chris, for that. What else? Julia, you see any other comments you want to?
No.
Alex has cameras everywhere, so he can see what's going on from down below. Well, that makes sense. And again, these boats are not one design, which is interesting. It attracts some of the attention, and it's also what I like about Andrew Cape's new race, which he announced, what was it, last Friday that he was on here?
Yes.
The Great Cape Race, and it's a bring your own. Anybody, run what you brung.
Yep.
And any boat larger than 60 feet that can make it from Europe, from the Solent, presumably, although I know he may start it in France, he may even start it in Portugal, one hears.
Mm-hmm.
But wherever they start the race, next October, any 60-foot or larger boat that can get to, he said, to Cape Town, because they're going to stop in Cape Town. It's going to be 3 stops: Cape Town, in Tasmania, Hobart, and then someplace in South America before going back up to Europe. But they have to be able to make it to Cape Town in under 30 days, he says, as a guideline, because they don't want super slow boats holding things up as they go around. I think it's going to be a cool race, but it's bring your own boat. It's not one design.
It makes a lot of sense.
And handicapped.
Yes.
So, you might win it overall with a slower boat, but one that's got a good rating and that sail well.
Yeah. Bill
Wingrove, but you have to tie. I don't have the tie on. I put that on at the end of one of the, 2 shows ago. Thanks goodness for Gabardine time. Sound the Couth alarm. Maybe they can get an Olin Stevens design to run DeRay. Well, I don't know if DeRay would make it down there that quickly. I guess they would. Cup date reaching nervously for the ice bucket. Does YouTube have a naughty word filter? We could be moving to FaceTime at this rate.
Yes.
No, we're not going to do that.
Well.
Okay, the cup date, AC36 Cup Day. We got a bunch of terrific videos, and I'll start with a general one, and it's a little longish, longer than we normally play, 6.5, maybe 7 minutes, courtesy of Harkin. And they have adopted one of the Ineos Team UK members, and this is actually edition number 2, 2 or 3, I think it's 2, and they're going to each week check in with this guy. And on Ineos Team UK's team, Harkin is doing these videos. They're really well done, I think. We'll see what you think. Enjoy.
So I've been out of quarantine for, I think it's a little over 6 weeks now, and we've moved into a team organised apartment, which is really nice, very close to the base, which is useful. And yeah, we're all settled in. We've got some of our own personal effects, so it's all work now. Once the full team move out, the whole apartment block, it's quite a small apartment block where I am, but it will be only full of team members. So that can be a good or a bad thing. At the moment, it's kind of a nice thing. Everyone's familiar, and there's a lot of people who are, obviously with the current situation globally, relocating without family. So it's a bit of an opportunity for us to look out for each other and, you know, invite the single guys or girls over for a home-cooked meal if they happen to be out by themselves. So the schedule for the sailing team is a little out of the normal at the moment because there's been a small group of us have come here earlier to help set up the base. So we're kind of managed more by the shore crew boss at the moment, but our day starts off with gym. So I'm generally in the gym at 7 in the morning, and it'll either be weights or grinding training. I try not to do too many afternoon sessions just because we've got the base build, so it's a pretty busy time for us. So it's really a big session in the morning, 6 times a week. We have breakfast, and then we check in at 10 a.m. for a bit of a jobs list. And the jobs at the moment are kind of a bit outside of our scope, but it's pretty normal in America's Cup team. It's a lot of work to get these bases moved and set up. So we're doing a lot of construction work, a lot of painting, moving lots of furniture. So we're kind of just the heavy lifters around the base at the moment, but that's starting to taper off. 6 weeks is probably the end for that. We need to shift more into focusing on our areas on the sailboat and getting ready to sail. We're really lucky with the base that we've set up here in Auckland. It's a great building. We don't have any temporary structures. It's all custom built. I'm in the gym at the moment, which is it's a little bit smaller than some of the other gyms that we've had access to, but it's got exactly what we need in it to be productive. And then we've got a lot of the sailing areas are attached off this, so our change rooms and our drying rooms are just behind me through the doors, and then you go through the doors to the right and you've got the boat shed. So most of the areas we need to get to are very close to us, and it's an absolute custom purpose-built building. It's completely finished. We're just moving our stuff in and getting all our personal stuff set up. The kitchen at work runs 7 days a week, and they're generally doing 3 meals a day. There's always a crew of varying size who needs dinner at the base, who's working later. Sailing team, we get a later breakfast because we train first. Everyone else gets breakfast around 7:30. So the kitchen has got a big job on. They're 3 strong in the kitchen at the moment. They're doing a great job. You know, an army marches on its stomach, and a sailing team's not very different. So it's a big advantage to have good people in the kitchen, making sure everyone's fed. We walk around in our team clothes. People will stop and have a chat, and it's been great so far. You know, we're really lucky that New Zealand has embraced so many international travellers coming out here at such a time, and yeah, certainly anyone who's stopped me whilst I've been walking around in my team gear is just really happy to see that there's an event on and that everyone's managed to make it down. And I think it's probably, you know, New Zealand is obviously very passionate about their country and their country's brands, but I think at a time like now, I think people are just happy to see any kind of sport continuing, and I think we've really been welcomed, and it's been nice. I wasn't sure how it would go. Since arriving, a lot of the teams are kind of on the same pathway to and from work. So I bump into a lot of people. You know, a lot of the Team New Zealand older guard are out running many mornings whilst I'm walking into work. Then there's drinking holes that all the teams visit. So there's a few places around the viaduct where if you want to go and see what the teams are up to on Friday night, most of the teams are in at the same place, and you know, sport as a sailing as a sport, everyone knows everyone, everyone's worked with people. I'm going to catch up with some of my friends from the Bermuda days at Oracle tonight, and it's good to catch up with people. We don't really talk about work very much because it is secretive and we don't want to be giving things away, but it's just nice to be surrounded by fellow athletes who are all on the same road. Managing the expectations of people working in any organisation is really important, and I think we're talking about families and how an organisation manages the expectations of family members is quite difficult, and I really think that the responsibility just has to come onto the team members to make sure that when you're signing up for something like this, you're prepared for the worst, and that your family knows there's going to be no guarantees. We don't know where we're going to really be living at what time. We don't know how life's going to look, and we're going to be doing long hours, and everyone involved in the Cup, and that's the families, has to understand that and be prepared. And I think it's kind of up to the individual employees need to manage the home life a little bit, but like I say, it's a little bit easier for me without kids. So I couldn't give you any more of an answer on that. It's definitely a tough one, and the better you can do it, the better the team will perform, but there's no hard and fast rule there, I don't think. The cool thing about Auckland being based here is that you can really get away. It's only a 30-40 minute drive, and there's all the West Coast beaches. There's great opportunities here just to get out of the city, get a step away from sailing for half a day and from the base operations for half a day. And I've done a little bit of exploring around here. You never get to see as much of it as you'd like to, but it's definitely a cool place to be based, and it's a great place for a sailing team like this to be based. It's a bit difficult to describe the excitement of seeing another team's boat too, because we're all going through the same thing. We've obviously seen other teams' boat ones, and everyone will tell you or they'll lie to you, but it definitely impacts your design direction. You see what other people are doing, you try and understand why they're doing it, and you decide whether it's a direction you're going to take. Boat ones, you can change your direction. Boat twos, you can't change your direction on a lot of things, but you still really need to know what other teams have done and try and figure out why they're doing it. We're trying to figure out weaknesses to their design and strengths to our design, and vice versa. So there's a lot of things that you'll see in other teams' boats that it's too late to copy, but we're so excited to see what they've got and try and figure out how other people solve the same problems that we've been up against.
I thought that was the best video I've seen in a long time, maybe ever, that shows what it's all about. That's youtube.com/Harkin there. I could have run that a little earlier for you, but Harkin's Harkin's YouTube page has a lot of stuff on it, and full marks to them. They've got obviously some good people and are spending some money on it, but you can see here this was episode 2, Graham Spence, of course, Spence. And I think you all agree the comments are just terrific.
Yes.
And I think, Julia, you agree as well. You were saying while we were watching that video, just, the guy is, well, look at the comment here from, he is doing a great job in November, but Dogzilla Monster, that is our friend up in Seattle.
Yeah. Check out his bright blue eyes.
Saying just, he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And Gordon Smith is saying, I can hear his Portsmouth accent. Tom needs that haircut. I don't think so. What's wrong with my haircut? Okay, it's just out of the shower, maybe a little wet, and I don't need to, come on. I'm a simple country boy from Michigan. I'm
never mind.
Not a fancy person like Julia.
You could have dry hair.
He's doing a great job of Movember. Are you sure? Did he just start growing that mustache a couple of weeks ago for Movember? Julia, you know what Movember is, right? Men's, they stop shaving, they grow or it's actually a mustache primarily, in recognition of, what is it? Is it to raise money for cancer,
Oh, yeah?
for prostate cancer, I think. Is that right? Somebody put it in here. I can't remember what that's all about.
I don't know that.
But Movember's been going on for a few years, and Mustache November, I think, is what that stands for. I don't need that mustache. Thank you very much, Blake Middleton. Andrew Pindar, pretty certain it was Graham who fell off and went underneath a foiling AC cat in Bermuda and somehow lived to talk about it. Is that right? Thank goodness for that. You just sent me a downer mid-video, right? We were watching that. He almost got cut in half. Wow. That huge pile of weights in the background is making me feel very tired, Gordon Smith is saying. Gordon, toughen up. Drink another one. What great comments. It's actually quite refreshing to visit with friends and not be able to talk about work. Yeah, I really, the whole video, having done a few of these myself, like 13 of them, and been on, I guess, 9 teams, I can't remember. It was a real good description of what goes on in an America's Cup team's day-to-day life. You do go to the bar and you all meet up and you do talk and, you don't talk about what's going on. You might, after a couple of drinks, might make fun of your friends and say, hey, we look pretty good today. You looked a little
wobbly there.
A little wobbly out there. And it was really a good description, I thought, of what goes on within a team.
And calm.
And Julia, check out his bright blue. Oh, you said that.
I know.
So both. Yeah, and they do look at each other's B2. I won't make a joke. Another joke. Julia's waving her finger at me. Do that again, Julia.
No.
I need instant replay. I won't make a joke. But you know how guys are in the locker room. They all. Oh, excuse me. I did say it after all. Employee-owned Harkin. Yes, Steve Gruber, that's true. Peter Harkin and his families and the family of his late great brother Olaf have sold the company. We did a Bravo Zulu to Peter on that. It's an ESOP.
Yes.
Employee stock ownership program. Right? Yeah. ESOP. I agree the gym is a good thing to do. Now, I was asking Julia, I wonder if Lake Minnetonka native Hannah Knoll is behind. Yes. Well, as you know, thanks, Blake, Hannah Knoll, who was at Melgus, has moved over to Harkin and is doing their comms. And I think has been doing a terrific job. Prostate cancer, right. Okay, everybody's kicking us. So it's for breast cancer. I don't think it's for Men's Depression Month. Jody Shields. Just apropos all these comments, you can, and I got, thanks to you all, I got around to the right, the little graphic. If you want to send a direct message to somebody else on here that's watching, it's the @ sign, like you use an email, the @ sign. And if you put that, and then, for example, @ Jody Shields, I could do a private message here to Jody Shields, or @ Dogzilla Monster, and a PM or a DM, as sometimes it's called, direct message back and forth. And it still shows up here on your list, but in a different color, I think orange or something. So for those of you who are still learning this whole system, as are we. What other comments? Anything else? Men's Depression Month. It's called an @ mention. Okay.
Oh,
Chris Exley is saying. Thanks, Chris, for that.
Thank you.
An @ mention. I should try that. Yeah, Hannah Knoll, Harkin.com, great stuff. More, but we got some other really good videos. And this one is from Airflow New Zealand travel. Yeah, this guy does things about yachting. I'm going to show you pictures of that crash in a sec. But this guy does some really cool videos. His YouTube site's called Airflow New Zealand Space Travel, because he's got a couple different sites. And he took this on the 12th. I'm going to do chronological now. This obviously of Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli sailing in pretty good breeze, small jib. Not the smallest jib that we've seen. And we've got they're obviously still having, see this? Still having problems with ride control, ride height, flight control on Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, and they haven't sailed that many days. It looks like Terry Hutchinson, T. Hutch, and the Americans have the best ride control, although they've had a couple of ups and downs as well. I think this is a replay of that. But we're getting some interesting videos now from Mike Cochran and Justin Mitchell. These guys, this guy on Airflow New Zealand, whose name escapes me.
We should know that.
Yeah, I'm going to have him on the show. He's
good.
offered. He said, by all means, use my videos and get him on the show. I think this is, it is a replay of that crash. And as I say, I've got some photos that were released by the team. In fact, the team actually put out a cute, let's see if I've got it still. They put out a cute tweet.
Shower, early morning shower.
And that's going to be a big part of your one's success, a team's success, is ride height and controlling it and not flopping down in light air, staying dry, as they say, throughout the race. When you heel lured on a foiler, John Emmett is saying, it's never good. And that's right. See, they're slightly heeled to windward here. So there is that video. Now, here's the promised pictures that were issued by the team of that incident. I guess that incident or similar. Up. And we've seen this of all the teams, and we're going to see more of it. And the splashdown.
Good pictures.
And here's the tweet the team sent out. As much as we'd love to fly, maybe we should just stick to foiling. So,
Nice.
They got a twinkle in the eye, sense of humor, don't you think?
Yep, nice.
Isn't that nice? Okay. That's quite a picture. I'll back that up and show it again. They're funny-looking boats.
Yeah, they are.
Any way you cut it, they're funny-looking boats.
I agree.
And there's only a month until this, a month and a week, 5 weeks until this they call it the Christmas regatta, the pre-regatta. Now, here's a video of Luna Rossa that Justin Mitchell took. Justin Mitchell TV in light air, trying to get foiling, and they've got their code 0 up. They've got a proper bowsprit. When they launched, they didn't have a proper bowsprit on them. And now they seem to be trying to get launched in this 13 November. So that's from today, Friday. It's Saturday down there now, of course. As in light air, they're trying to get launched on Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli with a code 0, a big jib out there on the end of their bowsprit. James Bland saying, yeah, they look like flying fish.
They do.
So you can see it's going to be pretty slow going if they are in displacement mode. You do not want to be in displacement mode. And if you can get launched in a half a knot less than your opposition, let alone a knot or two, they do get launched here.
Having a little chat.
Well, no, they're trying to find the right angle, I think, the proper angle, bearing away, trimming in here. Hard for them to get the windward heel to get foiling. Good point, John Emmett. Leaping stingrays. I bet Checo Bruni steered that bear away. Well, we don't know who's steering it. Jimmy's steering.
I saw that, but who is Checo Bruni? I don't know.
He is arguably the number one helmsman for the team. Jimmy is there too, but Jimmy's been doing more trimming, and I don't know, they're going to be doing tactical stuff. We'll see how the afterguard sorts out. You like these videos better without? I mean,
without music.
Without music, or I don't think music, but there they go. They heat it up a little bit to try to keep it foiling. They get that little heel to windward.
Oh, there they
slightly.
go.
Little puff, trying to find the angle. See them grinding in the.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to tack.
Well, that was pretty good.
And it was. They're in a puff. They tacked with the code 0 up, and then they fall off the foil slightly, momentarily, but they get back up.
Right.
Cool videos where they're racing the chase boat to practice high-speed boat-on-boat maneuvers and decision-making. Yeah, okay. Spithill and Brunei are sharing the helm on Luna Rossa. They are switching from tack to tack. Really? Are you sure about that, Stingray? We'll check in. I'll check in with my team sources and not just with Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Great vid, yeah. Again, this courtesy of Justin Mitchell, one of the 3 videographers we're hearing from regularly down under.
Yeah, it's the high-speed decision-making on these vessels that seems to be very critical.
Well, it will be. You're absolutely right, but it's also just keeping them flying, having the right sail selection for the conditions. And remember, it's puffy and shifty in this, even out in the Hauraki Gulf. But it's interesting now to finally see a code 0, the big jib,
Yep.
out on the end of the bowsprit. There's been a lot of speculation that we wouldn't even see code 0s. But I guess down speed, if you're down in what's the minimum wind speed is 6.5 knots in which they'll race.
How much time and thought and effort is it to change sails? Can you do that at all?
You'd lose. I think it'd be almost impossible in these short races. It's not not like in a long offshore race.
You can do it between races.
Well, you do it between races. But to try to do it during, I think you're going to have to make the right sail call. I don't know if they can change from a code 0 to a 1 or even a 2 or a 3 during the race. That's an interesting question, Julia. Somebody may know. Luna Rossa posted a video that talks about sharing the helm and reducing crew drag from switching side to side. Thanks, Mark Baker. By the way, a lot of new people. We must have had 12 signups today alone to the YouTube channel.
Great. Yeah,
subscribers. And again, we appreciate every subscription we get, because the more we get, the more love we get from YouTube, the more sharing and so on. Okay, so that's that video. And as I say, the more, if we get it, when we get over 1,000, I mean, we had on the Facebook page, Sailing Illustrated, forget about my channel, which has got 5,000 friends and another 4,000 or 5,000 followers. We're still trying to get Facebook sorted out, by the way.
I know.
But the Sailing Illustrated's Facebook page has thousands of followers, and presumably our YouTube page will as well, as we build it up here.
Because I mean, our shows are, instead of hovering around 5,000 each, so that.
Here's a good question too. Chris actually saying Luna Rossa looks a bit wobbly. John Emmett is saying, I would have thought that you would have to make the decision for the day. I think that's right, John. That's what my understanding is, but I haven't actually pursued that. And I could be told that by one team, and they are either holding their cards close to their chest so the other teams don't find out.
Steve Groover says, no way you change during a race.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that would be very, very, very. And Wet Hog's making, is there room in the boat to store sails?
Probably not.
Probably not. Or do you want the weight even? So there's room in the tender. So yes, you could change, obviously, between races that have sails in the tender. So I actually think good to move to YouTube. Thanks, John. There's been some back and forth, and people are saying yes. Getting a lot of feedback from people saying it's a lot easier to follow us, find us, and follow us on YouTube. Just one other comment about YouTube while we're here is that they are, in their AI, their artificial intelligence, they are really copyright, as they should be, tough. And we get permission from everybody, and we're not running videos from network television or anything. And we've got permission from everybody to run from the sites, I don't ask Hannah Knoll if I could run that Harkin video, but she says, by all means. In fact, they want us to run the videos because they want the publicity
Sure.
for themselves and their sponsors. But for example, on Tuesday's show, I was having to edit out that technical problem we had at the beginning. Remember all that madness? So I edited that out, and I'm learning how to use the online editor. Well, part of what that does is it cuts out the comments.
Oh.
And the other thing that happened was that the video that I ran from the Vendée
Yes.
of Alex Thompson had music that was copyrighted in some countries. So they nicked me for a copyright. They didn't give me a copyright, violation. They just said, we're going to, you got to dim the audio, something. Okay, let's carry on with the copy. Now, here's another video. You're really going to like this one. Now, why isn't it playing? Well, let me see if I can get it going here again.
Not much movement.
No movement here on the screen. Bloody hell. Talk about technical problems here again.
And Pindar says if you force-fed Barolo for breakfast, you would be wobbly.
Well, I'll play it here. This is not ideal.
Oh, there it is.
On here on our camera 4. While I try to sort this out. But you can see it's Ineos and New York. New York appears to be faster.
If they're not.
Well, they got different sails up. Ineos has got their code 0 up.
The Americans are winning this race.
Oh, that was a smooth move.
Very cool. Nice.
Okay. So you can see that, again, it's apples and oranges. It's not exactly a direct comparison or a very good comparison, but New York appears to be a little quicker. Why, I don't know. But they are. And that probably because Ineos's jib is luffing and they're trying out their big code 0. New York's got a number something up in that. I don't know what that is. Okay. That is courtesy of a C.S. Beatty on Twitter. So thanks to him or her for that video. And now let's see what else we got here, Julia. I've got crutonicism afoot here, sadly. This is the America's Cup Rialto, November 13th. This is Gladwell's latest article. Sticky business as AC-75 struggle in the light. I thought this was pretty good, this article. And I'm going to read a lot of it to you here. The nightmare conditions for crews in the upcoming America's Cup is likely to be winds that are close to the minimum wind strength of 6.5 knots than the upper 23-knot limit. After the breeze literally boxed the compass around all 5 course areas for the Product Cup and the 36th America's Cup, this was written on yesterday, Friday. It's Saturday down there now, of course. Crews finally got their practice session around 4 p.m. in winds of 2 to 7 knots on the inner Waitemata Harbor, sailing mostly between Bean Rock Lighthouse and the container port at the city end. It is very difficult. It is a very difficult stretch of water, notable for variable wind pressure, tidal flows, and with the high-rise buildings of downtown Auckland at the western end with a couple of volcanic cones on its northern side and the high landmass of Bastion Point to the south. Hopefully this area will not be used for Prada in America's Cup racing. It highlighted the most serious flaw of the AC-75 class, which is the massive speed difference between the boats in the lighter end of the wind range when one of the foiling monohulls can get foil-borne and their competitor Cannot.
Mm-hmm.
There is Ineos with all of the stuff they're dragging around. And Richard wrote, I hope you can read this. I'll read it to you, of course. Once foiling and generating apparent wind, the AC-75 will sail at 3 times true wind speed, maybe 4. With the 3 challengers, Luna Rossa, Ineos Team UK, and American Magic, all within the same small patch of water, would have been easy to make accusations of training in a coordinated manner, a practice that is prohibited under the protocol. However, today there was none of that. It was the first time the Challenger group had come up against their peers since they've been in Auckland. This all 3 of them in the same patch of water, I'm paraphrasing. For the crews and their support teams, it was a, quote, come to Jesus, unquote, moment, and when they were struggling to get foil-borne and could look over to one or other of their competitors and saw them clear the water and flying away with a speed delta or differential of about 15 knots between the 2 boats. Come the Prada or America's Cup, that is a race-determining moment.
Mm.
Of course, being able to negotiate a foiling or near-foiling tack in these conditions is vital to retain your margin or be able to recover lost ground. Unlike the AC-50s, which were used in Bermuda 2017, the AC-75 doesn't have the same inability to sail downwind in these light conditions and weirdly looked more comfortable sailing downwind.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Huh? What do you think of that?
I think that's true.
Well, we'll see if it's true or not. But it is weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 questions to be answered today, the first being how the radical stepped chine hull of Ineos Team UK would cope in the conditions. The short answer is not well.
Really?
Not well.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. There's a bow on this is a photo by Richard, a bow on view of that boat. And you can see Ben's bulge on the bottom. Richard continues, the other 2 with their less extreme hull shapes fared better in that they seemed to get foiling with less effort than the Brits. Once up and going, it was difficult to tell if there was any speed difference between the 3. But certainly the Brits were no slower and may well have had a speed edge. The other question was similar to the situation of the AC-72s. Is it more beneficial to use the larger Code 0, which again in this shot here in that video, you can see the Code 0 in this not very good shot, the start of that last video, Code 0 on Ineos Team UK, and then the smaller, I guess that's a number 1 jib, the largest of their 3 normal working jibs, on New York Yacht Club's American Magic. There was no definitive answer. Initially, the AC-75s were living off their Code 0s, and like most group activity, looks okay when everyone is doing the same. However, later in the session, the team started trying their number 1 jibs instead and looked just as good as with the Code 0, maybe even better.
Yeah, and that one stretch of video, it did look that way here too.
Indeed. And as we saw, New York looked better, but again, the trimming, and you can't really take too much from that. Okay, so now here's a shot by Richard of Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli with a Code 0 again, flying. Looks like they're eased off, going downhill, broad reaching, which of course
don't see it.
You don't see it. Oh, that would be nice if I put it on the air for you. There it is. Thank you. Who knows what will happen, Richard writes, come the start of the Prada Cup. Unlike the 2013 Cup, there is no weight advantage in leaving the bowsprit and Code 0 ashore. The rules this time around require that a compensating weight must be carried. We may know more by the end of the weekend. There are 2 more days of light winds forecast, today Saturday and tomorrow Sunday in Auckland. One thing is for sure, the integration of a crew's sailing ability with chosen design strategy, technology, and their ability to work through the gears and winds of the lower end of the range may well prove to be the winning of the America's Cup. I think he meant winning margin, but same difference. And more so than who can sail the fastest close to the upper end of the wind limit.
Oh, knowing that wind differentials, I wouldn't place heavy emphasis on that because the winds can really howl out there.
Well, yeah, but there's an upper wind limit though. There's an upper wind limit of
26 or whatever.
20.
It is.
No, it's 23, right?
23.
I think it's 22 in the Challenger Selection Series and Product Cup, and 23 in the match. I think that's what they finally ended up on. Okay, let's have another look. That was Richard Gladwell writing on sailworld.com. And then we got another video here. And this by Mike Cochran. Another Code Zero. This obviously Ineos Team UK. On Mike Cochran's YouTube channel. Also today Friday in Auckland. I guess that's the end of that video. So Ineos with their Code Zero, as you saw. Okay, now here's another shot of the Brit boat. And you can see this is the new, obviously they're B2, and you can see how low in the boat the people are. Chris actually saying it's UK's hull just doesn't look that aerodynamic and the bustle looks sticky in light air. Now here for comparison is the shot here, as you can obviously see, of American Magic. And look at those two boats. And the foils, they're quite different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Julie, I'm leaning on another thing here to try to get us repatched. You want to look at comments here?
Okay.
And voila, I've got it repatched, thank goodness. So there's that shot we were just showing. I'll back it up. And there is the Brits. And look at the similarities. This boat does not have a boom. And New York's boat does. American Magic does. Okay, let's see what we've got for comments here, Julia.
John Emmett says it's also important to remember it's not all about speed. It's about VMG.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Again.
And James Frederick Bland said, but the Code Zero might have too much camber above a certain speed. Think ice boats.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty flat sail. There's no question about that. Here's a frontal view. Speaking of frontal views, no, we're not going to do what Jeffrey Toobin did. Enough. Of American Magic. Again, I'm going to just go through those three photos again. And as soon as we see, by the way, it looks like the 19th is what I'm told. Maybe either side of the 19th is when Emirates Team New Zealand is going to splash their B4. So that's another 6 days. Could be the 17th as well.
B4?
Sorry, B4, B2. Thank you, Julia.
I was going to say,
It'll be
Yeah.
it'll be before they splash their B2. And
Thank
then,
you.
Then their B2 will be splashed.
yes, dear. I know.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other comments? 6 minutes for all the racing. Code zeros are too big, too much drag.
Yeah.
James Bland is saying correct. 22nd and 23rd for
And
the match.
summer winds will be lower speed.
Yeah, 20 Stingray's reminding me 22nd, 22 knots rather for the Product Cup, the Challenger Selection Series, and then 23 for the match. Okay, here's a video that just came out this morning. And thank you to Will Ricketson of New York Yacht Club's American Magic for sending this to me bright and early this morning. And we'll wrap up with this video. It's a nice video. Well, enjoy.
When you start from a high place, there's only one way to go, and that's even higher.
There's significant pressure to make sure that we're getting the most out of this boat at all times. Each group needs to be able to forgive each other when they make a mistake, and they need to be willing to allow mistakes to happen so that we can make progress. It's not always going to be a perfect, straightforward path.
Every single day that we go out there, I feel like that we have something to prove.
Get up any time, any right? Yep.
In the America's Cup, you've got to work smarter, but you've also got to work harder. There's a commonality. Everybody wants to win it really badly.
You have to attack it. You can't just react.
3, 2, 1, here we go.
It sounds like a long campaign, 4 years, but it feels like you're always up against the time limit.
Good angle, D, no lower.
Our time is when we get to line up with another boat and the gun goes off.
Like that?
Yes.
You're leaning in to see your fine
I know.
print.
I can't. Yeah.
A lot of nice comments.
There are.
There's a new, I don't recognize the name. It could be somebody who's been around on Facebook with us. All Sailing 23 is saying might be good to have a sail expert on at some point to talk about the choices the teams are making. Yes, we will do that. In fact, as soon, and I just say again, as soon as Emirates Team New Zealand launches their Boat 4, B4.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as they launch their B2,
yeah,
we've got a couple of experts teed up, ready to go to come on. They want a couple days to analyze the shape, see what they, have some thought into the various shapes, and going to come on and talk about the hull shapes and the foil shapes of all four of the teams. Likewise, New York Yacht Club's American Magic has a new mainsail that we're calling it the Batwing main, and the battens stick out of the roach, and there's hollows between the battens. The roach is the trailing edge of the sail. I don't know if I've got a photo. Yeah, I do here. I just found I think it's a rights-free photo. I don't know who took it, but here it is. I wonder if I can blow that up a bit. Yeah. You see the battens poking out the back end of the main. It doesn't even look very hollow. It looks like a straight line between the battens. But we're not quite sure what that's intended to do. There's been a lot of speculation. on New York Yacht Club's boat with a batwing mainsail from earlier this week. See what people think about that, Julia.
Yeah. All Sailing says, this is Bill Parker. I had a question.
Oh, William Parker.
Yes.
Hello, Bill.
Had a question from one of my relatives I couldn't answer. Why are some sails very black and some sails gray? Aren't they all carbon fiber?
They are, but different amounts of carbon and different amounts, and the carbon is different colored. It can be. In fact, they can now make white sails, carbon fiber sails.
Here's a nice quote from Chris, actually. Nelson Mandela says, I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Well, yeah, but in the America's Cup, there is no second. So you either win, Larry Ellison famously said, either you win or you're the first of the losers.
Yeah, you win or you learn.
Yeah, but you learn. You don't want to spend $150 million and come in second.
No.
And learn. Who knows if there's another campaign in any of these teams? Who knows? Okay, well, that's it for us. So any other comments, Julia? All the teams are using black North sails except American Magic, which are using quantum sails.
Oh, yes.
And the quantum sails, apparently the carbon is a little lighter colored gray. These are quantum sails on American Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what an interesting sail, Chris actually saying, probably gives lots of control over batten tension. Well, I think they have control over batten tension probably in all of the sails. The batwing.
James Frederick Bland says, more ice boat thinking. Stiff battens.
Well, I think they're all pretty stiff battens. Yacht Club of Evil, who is that? Who's saying Finn class is well represented with Caleb Payne on board? Yeah, Marcelino Bottine did a great job. And, of course, Marcelino Bottine is the lead designer for New York Yacht Club's American Magic, people admiring that hull shape.
Yes.
Okay, Bill Parker. Jody Shields making an interesting point, too, Julie. He's saying Code Zero will be great for a 50-mile straight line drag race, obviously in light air. That's our AC36 Cup date for today, Friday the 13th. We haven't had too much bad luck so far. I hope you haven't, Julia.
No.
Hope all of our viewers are in the pink. I wore a pink shirt too. In the pink of life, despite the madness that continues around the world. And now we have a Bravo Zulu for one of our favorite FOSI, who was awarded the President's Award at the World Sailing General Assembly, the annual meeting. Normally they do that on a big dinner on a Tuesday night during that week of meetings, but this year it was done virtually, and we were following that meeting till we got knocked off the air by World Sailing, who complained that we were doing a watch party. And as I said, we could have just as easily done a watch party talking with you like this, and we could have all been watching the meeting on a separate machine and doing our normal commenting and questioning and back and forth, gas packing. And that's what we'll do next. We don't get angry, we get even, and we will. But not with this guy. This is a terrific guy. You know who that is? Andrew Pindar.
Yes,
World
indeed. Sailing's
Development Award, Presidential Award for Development, was awarded to Andrew during the General Assembly. And that was 2 weeks ago, almost, 2 weeks ago Sunday. And finally, it made it to the World Sailing website today. And thanks to John Emmett for calling it to my attention. We knew about it, but we were waiting for the press release. President's Development Award, presented each year, the Development Award recognizes those who strive to grow and develop sailing either nationally or internationally. This year, the award went to Andrew Pindar, a key figure in sailing for a number of years. What a weak-ass sentence that is. Sorry. Excuse my language. Pindar has been a huge advocate of female participation in sailing, and he has supported numerous women in the sport, lobbying and managing major projects as well as providing funding. And that he has done in spades for years, and not just for women, but for all manner of teams, including Ian Williams, the match racing, famously good match racing team, and many others. His selfless and complete dedication to helping individuals and causes and ensuring women have a fair chance to compete earned him the trust and respect of the sailing community. Well, it was more than that. He also dedicated his time, energy, and passion to a range of disciplines from Olympic competition to match racing, foiling, parasailing, and offshore projects. On top of all this, he is known in the sailing community as a kind and genuine person with an infectious love for the sport. Now, how's that? That's nice.
That's good.
It's a nice wrap.
Yeah.
Now, there's more.
Okay.
On receiving the award, Pindar said, "I'm hugely grateful. Thank you very much to World Sailing for giving me this fantastic honor." He actually appeared on that General Assembly. We were still on the air, and we saw that before he got knocked off. And we saw Andrew's nice acceptance speech, which was done, I guess, live or live to tape. I'm not sure which. I've been very lucky, in the second paragraph, to have been able to travel around the world during the 4 decades or so that I've been sponsoring and involved deeply in various aspects of sailing. The thing I've noticed in all of the continents where I've had the delight to be attending events or meeting sailing clubs is the passion that exists throughout the world of sailing. He could be the Secretary General of the UN with comments like that.
Yes.
There are a huge number of volunteers who give their time, often very quietly, in the things that they do. The way that I was brought up and what I personally believe in is to give back into society. And if this award is in recognition of that, then I'm very appreciative. I would also like to accept this on behalf of everybody around the world who gives so much of their quiet time, often without any recognition whatsoever, for all they do. It's time for us in the world of sailing to make sure we all pull together going forward. That sounds like Joe Biden.
Well,
it sounds like the president-elect here in the U.S., assuming the election continues the way most people expect it will. Bravo, Zulu, Andrew. We're really proud of you. We're not surprised. It's a very well-deserved award and recognition. He has done and continues to do so much for the sport. Of course, our British FOSI friend who's been on the show a number of times, whose company, GAC Pindar, is a does logistics expert. Yeah, they are logisticians. How's that for a Stanford word? Perfect. They do logistics for events, whether it's teams or events and so on, and do it expertly.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I'm so glad to see him do that. He's
Bravo, Zulu.
Yeah.
Really pleased. And what comments do we have here, Julia? Anybody say, what a crouton, he doesn't deserve it?
No.
Wonderful award, good stuff.
Right.
Andrew Pindar, breaking news from U.S. Sailing. Thank you, Andrew. Breaking news from World Sailing. Congratulations, Andrew Pindar. Congratulations. In line with the implementation.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's interesting, Clark Chapin.
Yeah, he goes on.
Yeah, I'm just going to read Clark Chapin's comment. In line with the implementation of the new strategic plan and focus on the future, the board of U.S. Sailing announced today the departure of Chief Executive Officer Jack György. No surprise given the shakeup. John Ehman is saying U.S. Sailing will immediately embark on a nationwide search for a new CEO. Cue the likes and hearts. It was a nice article from WS. Okay. Now, back on Clark's comment, and then we'll go back to Andrew for a minute. I had several texts this morning from people saying, you should apply, because I used to, of course, hold that position, and I have no intention of doing so, to become, once again, now late in life. I did that from age 24 to 31, 30. When I was executive director of what is now called CEO, chief of staff of U.S. Sailing. But this is a big surprise. I think Jack György had a lot to do with this new strategic, and Clark Chapin, who is our statistician, is one of our key members of our team, follows U.S. Sailing, usually attends their board meetings, virtual board meetings on Zoom or on whatever the conference facility is, in line with the implementation of the new strategic plan and focus on the future. The board of U.S. Sailing announced today. That's a weird way of putting it. You're a headhunter. What do you think of that? Sounds like he doesn't fit the future plans of the organization. He wrote that. He wrote that strategic plan.
Clark Chapin?
No. Jack György, who's stepping down.
Well, we don't know. I don't know all the story around that.
Clark, do you need to know any more about that? So that's interesting. That is big news, breaking news from U.S. Sailing. And we'll look into that and report on Tuesday. Meanwhile, back to Andrew. Congrats, Andrew. It was a nice article from World Sailing, full stop. Gordon Smith, I agree. I don't often like reading award announcements, but in this case, I did. Totally agree. Wouldn't Andrew do a great job as CEO of U.S. Sailing? Andrew would do a great job as president of World Sailing.
Yes.
Or CEO, but he's too busy to.
Yeah,
like the late great Harry Andersen who said, "I'm too busy to work."
Exactly right.
Andrew Pindar's too busy to work. He's got so many irons in the fire. He's on the boards of various trusts and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, he's too busy to do that. But he pays attention to all of them.
He does, and he gives me a good new idea a week here for the show. Some of which we're going to implement. Hopefully, many of which we're going to implement.
Yeah.
I hear.
Yes.
I hear Andy Hunt's available.
Yes.
For U.S. Sailing. Wrote himself out of a job. That was a direct quote from the U.S. Sailing website. Thank you, Clark. That's strange. I'm just sitting here kind of noodling that. So I said, I had a couple of texts this morning, and I had no idea. Like they expected me to know this, and I didn't, because Tuesday and Friday mornings, my head is buried so far up my computer, putting this show together and getting the late breaking news into the show, even though I start on Thursday. In fact, start before that. Interesting. I look at in the world, Andrew, I'll take your picture off there, but in the world, it's almost always best, Julia, to what? Follow the money.
Money. I was going to say money. I know. Yeah.
And I think there must be some financial issues. I know that U.S. Sailing, excuse me, I need some coffee out of my OK Dinghy mug.
Mm-hmm. I'll
You've
do
got your Pindar
my
mug.
Pindar cup.
It's almost always best. I mean, Occam's razor. The simplest answer is usually the best. And follow the money is almost always the other right answer. And one suspects they got a big financial problem. One hears they've got a big financial problem. And in part because of COVID.
Yes.
In fact, maybe in large part because of COVID. Members not renewing, sponsors not renewing, a lot of stuff going on. But they also have, that staff has grown to be 50 plus people. In an organization, when I ran it, I think we barely had 20 people. And we were doing, okay, they're doing more than what we did. But do you have to do everything that they're doing? And a lot of people argue, including a lot of you on here, that World Sailing and U.S. Sailing and the RYA and the other MNAs, member national authorities, first and foremost should be helping clubs and classes run the sport, supporting clubs and classes running the sport, and particularly racing, because that's what racing sailors need. U.S. Sailing, they need World Sailing. Cruising sailors don't really need it so much. In fact, arguably don't need it at all. Training, other stuff, producing videos, becoming a media organization and producing a lot of videos and stuff. Maybe not.
Andrew Pindar says, well, I do love Rhode Island.
Well, we all love Rhode Island. We
do?
Yeah. Don't you?
No.
You don't like Rhode Island?
Visiting.
Well, that's what I mean. You wouldn't want to live there?
No.
Why? Because it's too cold?
Yeah. And little.
Well, come on. You're between two of the great cities, Boston, and 4-hour drive to New York.
But
2-hour
between
drive
them.
up to Boston. Yeah, you're between them.
I'm 1 mile from.
Well, you're in the center.
Yeah.
What is the tech universe here? Okay. Any other comments? I'm really surprised by that.
Why?
And well, I just, Jack, as I said, Jack Earhart's been there quite a while. He wrote that.
Yeah.
He wrote that, or drafted, I'm sure, that new strategic plan. And I think they're downsizing. I think they got to cut some salaries. They got to downsize. They're probably paying him a lot. I know they are paying him a lot of pretty good salary. And they're going to have to downsize because I know they took a what's it called? PPP, Payroll Protection Plan, is our U.S. government loan program to organizations that were affected by COVID, particularly all manner of organizations. So we'll see.
John Emmett gives us a bit of bad news. A very sad day. Over 250,000 deaths from COVID in the USA.
Well, we've reached that mark. Yeah, and again, I don't. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I don't really quite understand why we're looking at much more than deaths per capita and hospitalizations per capita. The fact that there's increasing testing and more people are tested and test positive and maybe are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. I don't need to be told to wear a mask. I'm happy to be told to wear hey, you ought to wear a mask, and you ought to socially distance, and you should,
wash your hands.
Wash your hands and use hand sanitizer when you can't wash your hands.
Exactly.
And washing your hands is better than hand sanitizer.
It is.
And don't go breathe on other people or let other people breathe on you in a bar, in a restaurant, in the supermarket, in the pharmacy, or wherever the few places are that you have to go, right?
Yep.
And what are we going to do about this big Thanksgiving holiday that we spend with a bunch of St. Francis Yacht Club friends normally? I take the guitar and we sing songs. We're told not to sing because what's the word? Expeculate? What's the word? You spit on people.
Yeah.
Expectorate?
Yeah, expectorate.
Expectorate? Minutely. And you're not supposed to sing and dance and carry on.
Or have a good time at all.
And you're supposed to be outdoors.
Yes.
And for no more than 2 hours and no more than 3 households.
Yeah.
Right?
For Thanksgiving, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. But, we got to protect ourselves. Okay, Dingy Mug. Yes, it is. You bet. And I like it. Thank you. Anyone else sends us a mug, we'll use that one as well.
I'll be hard fought to give up my Pindar mug, though.
Gordon Smith wants to know if it's drink time. Well, it's 23:37 in Europe. It's almost midnight. So, yes, you should have had any number. And if I need to say Kim Andersen so that you all can. Yeah, Blake Middleton, I think there were maybe 23 or 24 on the staff when I worked. Blake was a member of the staff, a great member, almost right out of college, if I remember well. Worked his butt off for us. And as did everybody on the staff. And when we were done working, then we'd go sailing, go yacht racing. And we had a lot of fun. We worked hard and played hard in
You're supposed to do that.
days. John, that is not today. It's total since March. Still devastating. Yeah, that's right. That's the cumulative number of deaths here in the U.S., right, Julia?
Right.
What else? Anything else? Yeah, here's Gordon Smith saying 50 employees and not a lot of Olympic success is not a great look, really, is it? And I'm not sure how much Jack György was playing in the Olympic program. He's not the one who led the charge to hire our friend from Australia.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Okay. Mr. Page.
Yeah.
Or Greg Fisher, who's now got a big new job. Yeah, so that's a good point by Gordon Smith. Sailors shouldn't support dues even when there isn't racing. Lots of one-design classes are having problems with scofflows, too. Sailors should support dues even when there isn't a lot of racing. I agree. And, of course, James, the Secretary General, or the Executive Secretary, or the class manager of the OK class here in the U.S., and I will just go back to that strategic plan of U.S. sailing, and I don't know if this is a reaction. John Sangmeister used to be on the board of U.S. sailing, was for about a year, and I'll be interested to talk to John to see what he hears, and any number of others who are. Dave Perry's just going off the board, a longtime friend. Many of you know David. See what that's about. One thing in that strategic plan which offended me, not me personally, but that I found offensive, there was only one mention of the word club in the whole plan. And the plan's, okay, it's 4 or 5 pages PDF, big presentation style thing. One mention of the club, of club, and I don't remember if there was even a single mention, James Bland, of class. And again, when I ran the place, and what I advocate still to this day is that these organizations should be supporting the LSOs, the local sailing organizations, whether it's a club, a community sailing organization, whether it's a fleet, or the fleets that make up a class association in a country, or the International Class Association of the various classes, because that's where the truth is, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the real work is done. That's where the racing gets done. That's where the sailors really enjoy their sport. And those are the people that grow the sport. The clubs, the classes, the fleets, the fire plugs, spark plugs. Why do I always call them fire plugs? Fire plugs are spark plugs, like Andrew Pindar, like most of you here that are watching this. I'm sure that's part of the reason you tune in. And we're going to increasingly not only share news of cool people, which is what we always do, news, views, and notables, as it says right here on the slide, but cool ideas from cool people about how to improve the sport. Like this thing that Emmett's doing in the UK with he and his buddies about restarting sailing. Is that what it's called, John? I for some reason draw a blank on the name. Positive COVID numbers mean nothing, James Bland is saying. Hospitalizations and ICU rooms in the upper Midwest are almost full, and that includes Wisconsin and Minnesota now, Blake Middleton is saying. It's like the body count on the evening news during the Vietnam War. Yeah, that was really offensive, and I think that led to the end of the Vietnam War in more ways, as Walter Cronkite and the network anchors getting on and say, well, today X many Viet Cong were killed today. And people are saying, is that really? Is this, and of course it was that guy, who was the guy from Detroit, who was the defense secretary, who said, we got to go by the numbers like we're building cars. How many people did we kill today in Vietnam? Bloody hell. Singing and talking loudly, Chris Exley says, create aerosols that cross the room quickly and cover long distances. I'm done. YouTube sucks. 8850 TBM. What does that mean? Carter Gowrie Group owner, would make a fabulous CEO for U.S. Sailing. Probably would. No YouTube problems here. Our club membership actually increased this year, John Emmett is saying. That's great news. Mm-hmm. My club as well, Steve Gruber, mostly in sailing. Well, I'm hearing that a lot, that local sailing, where it was permitted, where it was allowed, where it was able to be done, there's been a big increase, big uptick in local sailing.
I know that my yacht club bill is big or bigger than usual, and I'm not there at all.
Yeah. Well, that's another issue. Yeah, McNamara was the defense secretary then. McNamara, body count. I really think YouTube is the way to go. John Emmett is saying it will just take time to get the live audience numbers up. Yeah, I'm not too worried about the audience numbers, because the other thing that will happen is that more people, I think because of YouTube, will see it in replay. Mm-hmm. And Facebook's live numbers are 3-second views, and YouTube's are minute-plus views. And I'm not so worried about views. It's the quality of the audience that we have and continue to have that we're really grateful for. And I think
absolutely
that makes a big difference. Yeah, Pindar is saying is multi-channel. Yeah, we can do multi-channel. It takes a little bit more effort and a little bit of more equipment. A little bit more money. Pindar, yep, you can share live on both. Many do. Yes, you can. You can share both on YouTube and on Facebook, but we're still sorting out
At the moment, we don't have a Facebook.
We're still sorting out our little issue with Facebook, so we may, push comes to shove, we may have to, and I think Facebook's got a problem with the election. They are censoring and disabling so many channels because of COVID and because of election and just big tech wanting to censor people. And I don't know. I think we got caught between the cracks. So
we were talking about elections, but it wasn't the election. The U.S. presidential election.
Speaking of elections, shall we move on here?
Please.
We told you on Tuesday about the response from Kim Andersen and coming out with his broadside. It was actually a release by World Sailing after the bad ink that Mikkel Thomason and others reported from the Ethics Commission in this. It was a really highly critical report of Mr. Andersen, the now former president of World Sailing. I don't think there's any chance he's going to get reelected. He's just trying to clear his name. I'm sure he's got a heart of gold, although one starts to wonder after you start to read some of this stuff in these reports. But he fired back in this, and we ran it, and Mikkel has run it. But now one of the people that he fired against has fired back, and that's really, Mr. Andersen is just upside down on this one. This is a letter to the editor a couple days ago in Scuttlebutt from George Wossala in György Wossala in Hungary. Dear editor, Kim Andersen's statement, which was run in Scuttlebutt, which we ran, which Mikkel ran, which referred to me, George Wossala, several times, was published in your writing in the November 10th issue. Citing the right to personal involvement, allow me to respond to some of the many inaccuracies and slippages in that statement that World Sailing and Mr. Andersen, World Sailing issued on behalf of Mr. Andersen. The statement lists all 3 ethical investigations that have been conducted against Mr. Andersen in the previous quad and suggests that the allegations are groundless, politically motivated, unsubstantiated, entirely without merit, and completely false. To prove the above, instead of dealing with the substance of each case, he, Mr. Andersen, seeks to substantiate his allegations by criticizing some formal and appurtenant details. There's a good word.
It is.
Appurtenant details of the proceedings. Even a simple country boy like me knows that word, Julia.
I'm glad. I don't think I've ever used it.
From political science class,
I know.
Freshman year in college. Agreeing that the procedures should be strictly within the framework of the regulations, which I believe has been fully realized, allow me to draw a little attention to the real essence of the 3 complaints. I'm not going to go through, this letter goes on, and it highlights what Mr. Wossala says are the facts of these 3 cases that were issued, the ethics cases, complaints that were against Mr. Andersen. So I'm going to skip those 3. You can read it on Scuttlebutt. You can read it on Mikkel Thomason's website. I'll put it up eventually, but I don't want to go into the details. The facts listed, this is the end of the letter, the facts listed caused immeasurable damage to World Sailing, and it is easy to see that not only were these the causes of the present grave situation of the organization, several similar cases have never been exposed. George Wossala, György, as you would say, is his proper name in Hungarian. As to my person, being almost 80 years, because he was accused by Mr. Andersen and others of wanting to tear him down and had personal ambitions within the organization, which neither Paul Henderson nor Mr. Wossala nor I nor the late great Zaviza Blad, who has passed away in the meantime.
Right.
Being almost 80 years old, I did not and still don't have such an ambition to climb up the World Sailing ladder. I never had material interest in our sport, but after serving more than 30 years, our organization, being World Sailing, in different positions and various class associations, I might add, and the Hungarian Yachting Federation, I think it was my duty to draw attention if I saw that our boat is steered in the wrong directions. With best regards, George Wossala, György Wossala, Hungary. That was in a letter in Scuttlebutt a couple days ago. And he's absolutely right. It's, as you all said the other day when I ran that thing from David Graham, who's now the CEO of World Sailing, and on behalf of Mr. Andersen, several of you said exactly what my reaction was, and Julie's reaction is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. And I don't know why Mr. Andersen doesn't just go away gently. Full marks, though, to György Wossala from Hungary for writing this quite pointed but good letter to Scuttlebutt that's been also run widely beyond Scuttlebutt. There's the new president. I hope he is good. He's a recreational sailor, not a yacht racer, by his own account. Quan Hai Li from China, we wish him the best and pledge our full support to him and to David Graham and the new vice presidents. And we hope that we can all together with Pindar and all the rest of you on here can pull, as you said, pull together, Andrew, and help get the sport out of this big debt and this big hole that they're in. Hopefully the Olympics, they've just issued the notice of race for the Olympic Yachting Regatta next year in Tokyo. It's looking with this, vaccine, maybe it can go on, and maybe they're starting to talk about allowing foreign visitors into Tokyo next year for the 2020 postponed to 2021 Olympics. One can only hope. Julia, any other comments before we wrap this?
No. Good comments continue, but I think we've covered most of it.
Pindar, yep, you can share live on both. Yeah, many do. We covered that. Join the offshore doubles org. Yeah, I'm gonna get somebody on from the offshore. There's an offshore class association that's been around for a while. There's an offshore doubles association now that's coming along. This doubles, I mean, part of it's COVID, part of it's the Olympic.
Yeah, but it's encouraging though.
It is, and we've had that race here. It's the most popular race on San Francisco Bay has been the single or double-handed race out and around the Farallon Islands, which are out past the bridge.
26 miles.
Is it 26 miles? Just like Catalina, out and back. And it's a hugely popular race. And then there is the Three Bridge Fiasco.
Yes, which is fun.
Which starts here in front of the two clubs, Golden Gate and St. Francis, really in front of Golden Gate. And you can go under each of the three. You have to go to a buoy in front of each of the three bridges that are here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. And you can go in any order you want. And that is a double-handed race, I'm pretty sure, the Three Bridge Fiasco. And that's now getting picked up other places. There was a Two Bridge Fiasco in Annapolis in Maryland and maybe other places around the world. So it's a bit of a navigational and weather routing race, even on a local basis. And, you know, in the days of COVID, two people on a boat from the same household, you know, it's good. Go for it. Right, Julia?
Yeah. YouTube does have some advantages, and John Emmett said, I do not feel sorry.
Emmettel's a cheese.
I know. Guess who's hungry? I know.
Well, you haven't had breakfast yet, nor have I.
No. I do feel sorry for Facebook. And in a way, the strangest thing for me is that my flat earther friend commented on the Vendée Globe, which is wonderful. Yeah.
It is. Steve Gruber, I sail a Thistle and had many races this year. Well, that's good. I guess you're sailing with your family. I wonder how did that work? I think we can just leave talking about, this is Emmett, KA until the very final report and verdict comes out because it distracts from all the good work that World Sailing is doing. Yeah, we can, but I don't want... I agree, and I will stop talking about him now that we've done kind of tit for tat. I don't want that report that came, and we ran it out of fairness to Mr. Andersen and the World Sailing and the new CEO David Graham, who's probably caught a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, but
George Wossala's György's response was so strong and so cogent and so right on that you can't just okay. Enough about it. I see Kim is still getting press. He must be ecstatic, not unlike a certain cheater in the Tour de France whose name I refuse to mention. We also have the provisional dates for Enoshima World Cup, 8 to 15 June 2021. John Emmett saying, thanks, John. Good evening, lovely people. I need to take the puppy out to pee on someone else's lawn. Gordon Smith is saying. Pindar need to get Larry Rosenfeld on regarding the offshore doubles and stay out. Stan and Sally Honey have said they'd come out. Rosenfeld's a good idea. Alex Thompson has cleared the center of the storm, sailing in 50-plus knots wind and extending his lead.
Wow.
Great news, Steve. I mean, I guess it's great news. Steve Atkins, how is your COVID thing? I'm seeing more and more news. Let's see if I can go back to that. I've got
to Steve Atkins.
No, I'm going to go back to the Vendée Globe tracking. I've got that teed right up here and see if they've got it here. Hugo Boss says he's going on the current tracker that he's going 15 knots, 23 nautical. What's that? Right? What's that? Yeah, 23 nautical miles in the lead. Jean Lecomte. Let's see what that looks like if we go.
No, that's to go, isn't it?
Oh, 23,050. Yes, correct. Thank you. Nautical miles to the finish. And Lecomte is plus 9.2. There it is. Thank you, Julie. You can see over here the plus 9.2 nautical miles on the lower right corner of Yes We Can, Jean Lecomte. And then linked out is 52 miles back, almost 53 miles. And Kevin Escoffier is 63 miles back. A lot of race to go. It's obviously just the very, very beginning stages of that race, and we'll keep an eye on it and keep you all posted. And thanks for encouraging us to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Julio, the final segment here. Who is this guy? What's his name?
I'll look it up. He's a quite famous actor.
Ken Reed would be a good interview. Wet Hog is saying, yeah, we'll get Kenny on, hopefully from Auckland once he gets down there to do the commentary. This is our, those of you who are new, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot segment that we wrap the show up with. It's been by popular demand. Lockdown, named the word of the year by Collins Dictionary. Collins records a 6,000% increase, no surprise, in usage of the word since 2019, with TikTok, I guess TikToker, and Megxit ranking among mostly coronavirus-related terms, other terms. Lockdown. Wine. Speaking of definitions, daffinitions. Do you remember that from the Reader's Digest?
Mm-hmm.
The glue holding this 2020 Shiza show together. Come on, Julia. What?
Well, if they'd said tequila, I might have believed them.
Well, you know, a lot of people turn to wine.
Yeah.
Today's homes including for homeschool lessons. Some of the mothers apparently and fathers are apparently teaching their kids fractions. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's chocolate milk.
I think that's lovely.
Here's the best one, and it was submitted by a sailor. Julie is not going to approve. I didn't show it to her in the pre-show. But here it is. Pfizer, which just announced a vaccine against COVID-19, is the same company that created Viagra. This is sent to us by a famous sailor. I won't name him, although he lives in the Netherlands. Therefore, we can fully rely on the vaccine because if Pfizer was able to raise the dead, they will very easily be able to cure the living. You're smiling.
Yeah, that's
okay, right?
That's okay.
Yeah, but it goes on.
Uh-oh.
Trump is fuming and fuming mad because he believes that Pfizer deliberately delayed their announcement until after the election, which is true.
Yes.
And you know he's been tough on Big Pharma. So here's the punchline, the coup de grace. However, Pfizer responded by telling him the company is about erections. Oh my.
Okay.
Okay, so much for our 2020 segment, Julie. That was good, don't you think?
Yes, it was.
Any final comments before we wrap this turkey up?
I don't think so. I'm just wishing everybody stays healthy and safe.
Hey, Wet Hawk says he's off to tie a couple on. Long week. Have a great weekend, everyone. I would have thought you taught it the other way around. 1 3/4, 1 half, and yeah, we should fix that. 1 quarter and then 0. Bland is saying boo, he didn't like that. Well, he's a very proper guy.
Yes.
Alex, the speed is 14.7 knots. Yeah, the wind is 26 knots. Thanks, Clark. Thank you for sorting that out for us. Julia, your witness.
Yes. Take the opportunity to like, share, and subscribe, and be sure to tell everybody that we're on YouTube.
Yeah,
now.
Put that on if you would, please, put that on your own Facebook pages and help us spread that. Clark Chapin's spreading the word. John Emmett has been spreading the word. Pindar and others, we appreciate that very much. Comments also are welcome. A lot of comments on here again today, and they'll stay on. We're not going to have them lost again in the ether because we're not going to have to do an edit on this show, we hope.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as always, please do support us on patreon.com. Become a patron, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And we do appreciate everybody who makes this show possible, including and especially Julia, who is my co-host, supervising producer, Commodore at the Beach Street Yacht Club that lets us have here Studio B.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll go back to Studio A at some point.
For change of scene.
Or if we do a round table, it's just moving all this equipment's too hard.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you on Tuesday next week. In the meantime, have a great weekend with the ones you love. And hopefully you get to do some sailing. Stay safe and go sailing. Ciao. Bye.